You have 800 followers, a group chat that never sleeps, notifications all day long, and yet some nights you feel completely alone. That's not a coincidence. That's not weakness. That's a specific psychological trap most people never notice they're in. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why it happens and what actually fixes it. For almost all of human history, we lived in groups of maybe 150 people, tribes, small villages, and the same faces every single day for your entire life. You knew who your neighbors were. You knew their kids, their arguments, their habits. There was no scrolling required. Connection was just the default setting of being alive. If you got sick, someone noticed within hours, not days. If you disappeared for a week, people asked questions. Your existence was witnessed constantly just by default. You didn't have to perform it, post it, or prove it. Now think about your actual week. How many real conversations did you have? Not texts, not likes, actual conversations where someone asked how you were doing and waited for the real answer. For most people today, that number is smaller than they'd like to admit. We didn't lose connection. We gained an almost unlimited amount of it and lost almost all of its depth. Psychologists call this connection without intimacy, being in contact with more people than any human in history, while being truly known by almost none of them. Here's a simple example. You can have a best friend online who you talk to every day, memes, jokes, updates, and still not know if they're actually okay. Not really, because the format itself isn't built for depth, it's built for frequency. Think about how a conversation actually happens now. A message, a reaction emoji, maybe a voice note if you're close. Compare that to sitting across from someone, watching their face change as they talk, noticing the pause before they say the thing they're actually worried about. Text strips almost all of that away, and we've replaced most of our relationships with it. You can text 50 people and still feel invisible to all of them. Here's the part nobody tells you. Loneliness was never about how many people are around you. It's about how many people actually see you. This is why some of the loneliest people you'll ever meet have the most active social lives. They're at every event, in every group chat, tagged in every photo, and still go home to an emptiness they can't explain, because being seen by a crowd isn't the same as being known by even one person. And some of the most connected people, emotionally, not digitally, live quiet, small lives with very few people in them at all. There's a reason this hits so hard specifically now, and it's not really about willpower or discipline. Our brains never got an upgrade for this. The part of you that feels good when someone likes your post is the exact same ancient system that used to reward you for real social bonding, actual eye contact, actual shared time. That system doesn't know the difference between a genuine friend and a stranger's thumbs up. It just knows it got a small hit of validation and it wants more. So you keep checking, not because you're weak, but because the app is quite literally exploiting a reward system that evolved for tribes of 150 people, not for an infinite scroll of strangers. One real friend who actually knows your whole story will always outweigh 1,000 people who only know your highlight reel. Now add the second half of the trap, comparison. Studies on social comparison show something brutal. The more we scroll, the more we compare our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, and the lonelier we feel, even surrounded by friends. Here's the cruel irony. The people whose lives look the most connected online are often using that appearance to cope with the same loneliness you're feeling. Nobody posts the quiet Tuesday nights, the nights spent scrolling alone, the moments of wondering if anyone would notice if they logged off completely. Everyone posts the highlight, the trip, the party, the group photo, because the highlight is easier to share than the truth. So you end up comparing your actual, ordinary, sometimes lonely life to everyone else's edited best moments. That's not a fair comparison. It was never supposed to be. 1. Here's a small experiment worth trying if you want proof of any of this. Pick one person, just one, and instead of sending them a like or a reaction, send them an actual question, something real. How are you actually doing this week? Not the short version. Then wait for the real answer and actually read it. Most people report the same thing after doing this. It feels almost uncomfortable at first because we're so out of practice with real depth, and then it feels like relief. This is why you can be at a party, phone in hand, surrounded by people, and still feel like you're the only one in the room. So, what actually fixes this? Not more connections, fewer, deeper ones. One honest conversation does more for loneliness than 100 likes. Think about the last time someone really listened to you, not waiting for their turn to talk, not glancing at their phone, just present. That single moment probably did more for how you felt than an entire week of notifications. That's the whole secret, and it's almost embarrassingly simple. Depth beats volume every single time. You don't need 50 people checking in on you. You need one or two who actually would notice if you disappeared and who you do the same for. The people who feel least lonely aren't the most followed. They're the most known by a small number of people who actually matter. This doesn't mean disappearing from social media or blaming yourself for how you feel. It means noticing where your real depth actually lives and protecting it instead of trading it away for more scrolling, more notifications, more surface level noise that feels like connection but never quite fills the same space. Maybe that's one honest text today instead of 10 shallow ones. Maybe it's putting the phone down during the one conversation that actually matters this week. Small, deliberate choices, not a total overhaul. If this hits something in you, you're not broken, and you're not alone in feeling alone. That's the quiet irony of it. Think about someone you know who seems to have it all together online. Constant photos, always smiling, always somewhere interesting. Chances are, if you actually sat down with them one-on-one, they'd tell you something completely different. Maybe they felt distant from their own family for years. Maybe the friend group in those photos barely talks outside of planning the next photo. This isn't a rare exception, it's closer to the norm than most people realize. The gap between how connected someone looks and how connected they actually feel is often enormous, and almost nobody talks about it openly because admitting you feel lonely still carries a strange kind of shame, even though it's one of the most universal human experiences there is. If you take nothing else from this, take this. The loneliness you feel isn't proof that something is wrong with you. It's proof that you're a normal human being living inside a system that was never designed for how humans actually need to connect. You weren't built to be known by thousands. You were built to be known by a few people deeply, consistently, over time. That's not a flaw to fix. It's just information about what to prioritize going forward. Almost everyone watching this has felt exactly what you're feeling right now, even the people who seem the most surrounded. Subscribe if you want more of these, one honest idea at a time.